You're watching RTV News with me, Jane Mutoni. The late Dr. Paul Farmer's colleagues have shown that he was a good example for different people, especially those who work in the medical field. As Rwanda marked World Autism Awareness Day, an application was unveiled that will be used through a smartphone to determine if a child has autism after birth. A warm welcome to the news. In details now, President Paul Kagame has received Kathleen Russell, the Executive Director of UNICEF, for discussions on ongoing and future projects aimed at the betterment of Rwandan children health and well-being. Now, the Executive Director is in Rwanda to meet different leaders, and their organization has continued to work closely with the government of Rwanda on child betterment. The late Dr. Paul Farmer's colleagues have shown that he was a good example for different people, especially those who work in the medical field. They made the statements during the Requiem Mass to pray for his soul that took place on Saturday. Innocent Mugawa reports.
At the Semi-Shed Cathedral, the Requiem Mass for Dr. Paul Farmer was preceded by the Archbishop of Kigali, Cardinal Antoine Kambanda. The ceremony was attended by Her Excellency Madame Jeannette Kagame, government officials, international organizations, late Dr. Paul Farmer's family members, representatives of the organizations he founded, and others. Health services and care for the poor in general are among the highlights of Dr. Paul Farmer, who was also granted Rwandan citizenship. Rutaisire Jean-Claude is 45 years old and a resident of Kayonza district, where Partners in Health, a non-government organization founded in 1987 by Dr. Paul Farmer, also operates. Partners in Health operates in different countries, whereby it promotes health and medical services in developing countries. It started in Rwanda in 2005. Rutaisire revealed that after being diagnosed with HIV in 2005, Dr. Paul Farmer hired him for 36 years. This has boosted his life expectancy and the lives of nearly 2,000 of his colleagues who are still under Paul Farmer's care. The following month, Paul Farmer and a group of PIH members came to Rwanda and brought medicine for the patients and said that all requirements must be met to improve the health of the patients. At the time, I was 27 years old, and he showed me that I would live a long time, even though I had HIV. Which gave me hope because he immediately gave me a job in PIH, and as you can see, I'm doing fine, Your Excellency First Lady. The University of Global Health Equity, located in Butaro in Burera district, was founded by Dr. Paul Farmer, and it is in this area that the Butaro Cancer Center of Excellence was built with the participation of this professional doctor. Dr. Agnes Binagwaho, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Global Health Equity, has worked with Dr. Paul Farmer for more than 20 years, since they first met in 2002. She emphasizes that remembering and honoring him is an appreciation of his work in Rwanda.
The first time I met Paul was in 2002 in New York. It was also my first time in New York. And we were discussing the Millennium Development Goals, and during the meeting, we discover that our vision of equity access to quality care were the same. And that's how the journey starts, not Paul knowing Rwanda, but Paul working in Rwanda on day-to-day basis. We start with Rinkwavu and continue with Kirehe and continue with Butaro. So we became friends, and it's not unique. All of you here are friends of Paul, I talk about my friendship, but everybody could stand up here and come and talk about the friendship he had with Paul.
Unparalleled medical care, even for the poor, as well as the betterment of the disadvantaged in general, are some of the things that awarded Dr. Paul Farmer a Friendship Medal by President Paul Kagame in 2019. Dr. Mhoga Tharsis, the Minister of State in charge of primary health care, also finds that Dr. Paul Farmer's efforts should be the legacy of many in Rwanda and elsewhere around the world.
Start brainstorming how to start these services. And most of people, they are saying, wow, how comes a cancer center a very advanced services in that remote area, without patients, without clinicians, who is going to get that service there? Well, Paul says, please, I need services there, because there are people who are suffering. And in July 2012, we started the cancer center. But to tell the truth, none of us, I'm saying the hospital staff, I think they are here, those who were at that time, has any expertise in the field of cancer. So, but with that good collaboration, connection from Paul Farmer and others, we made it.
Paul Farmer was an American and was granted Rwandan citizenship. He was born on 26 October 1959 and died on 21 February 2022. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Now, as Rwanda marked World Autism Awareness Day, an application was unveiled that will be used through a smartphone to determine if a child has autism after birth. Take a look. It is an event that was organized to discuss the steps that have already been taken to find solutions that will improve the lives of children with autism. On one hand, parents say that there are still barriers to autism awareness and how children with autism should be cared for.
Some of us, our first experience was with our firstborn, and you find that we don't have any way of telling if a child is behaving normal or not. A child would reach the stage where normally a child starts to talk, but you find that he or she is not able to talk or even understand anything you tell them. So the first sign is a child not being able to talk, yet they have reached the stage of talking. And secondly, they will find difficulties with finding sleep, and symptoms can be different sometimes with each child with autism. This means that once parents become aware of these symptoms, it will help them to know how to take care of these children, because in some cases children with this condition can be strong-willed in a way that if he or she wants to wear a certain shoe or cloth, there is no negotiations there. So this will help parents to have a better understanding of their children.
In addition to that, there is also a fact that the schools that take care of children with autism are still very few and expensive. On this World Autism Awareness Day, the Autism Rwanda Center has launched an application that will be used on a smartphone to help determine if a child has autism after birth. It is an application that was developed in collaboration with RBC and the Africa Institute for Mathematical Sciences, AIMS, which will be used by health counselors. Rosine Kamagaju, director of the Autism Rwanda Center, says that knowing children that have been diagnosed with autism will help them to start taking care of them early. A parent with a child of 6 months will be visited or use the application themselves, because once it shows in the application that a child has autism, at the center we shall be notified and will visit the child. When a child is smiling, there is that eye contact between the parent and the child, whereby a child wants to touch or play with the parent. So once that doesn't happen, yet the child has reached the stage of seeing and attracting attention from the mother, it indicates a problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that the child has autism, but it is a problem which requires to be attended to after a certain period of time. Hence, we shall determine if a child has autism or not. According to the Ministry of Local Government, a special census of children with disabilities will be conducted in Rwanda in July 2022, which will help to determine their number and what each child needs in terms of caring for them. In this census that we are planning, every house shall be visited, whereby census enumerators will have a couple of questions for parents, and the answers provided will be registered in the system, hence determining the category of each child. Among the things that were required by parents with children with autism include the establishment of special schools that will educate children with autism once they are all grown, and these children to be helped to showcase their talents and develop them. People living in the valley of Bugarama in Rusizi district of the Western Province have asked the concerned authorities to provide them with the necessary feasibility study that will enable them to better protect themselves from natural disasters because the valley is prone to them. This comes as a fierce storm damaged more than 30 homes in the valley on Friday afternoon.
Most of the damage was done in the sector of Muganza, the cell of Charukara, and local residents say they did not think that a storm with little rainfall could come with such fierce winds. We were caught completely off guard and I was shocked that the wind would cause so much damage, what with all the trees planted in the valley. That wind came in an unusual way, and in all my life I have never seen anything like it. I believe you saw for yourselves just how many houses lost their roofs, and others even collapsed. In our case, the church simply toppled over. 33 homes lost their roofs, while one church in the area also lost part of its roof and another completely collapsed. We had invested slightly more than 7 million Rwandan francs on the structure. This is certainly not easy to take in. Local authorities have already begun the reconstruction efforts and say 12 houses will need to be rebuilt from the ground up, the rest needing their roofs replaced. We must all be vigilant because the fact is another storm like that could hit. Certainly the long-term solution is for residents to ensure that their roofs are properly secured, because you saw that the vast majority of the homes damaged lost their iron sheets and did not collapse. The people living in the valley of Bugarama in Rusizi district of the Western Province have asked the concerned authorities to provide them with a necessary feasibility study that will enable them to better protect themselves from natural disasters because the valley is prone to them. Those whose homes were severely damaged have been living with their neighbors as they wait for assistance.
Members of the district executive committees of the Eastern Province have been urged to work together to ensure that they fulfill the wishes of the people they serve.
The local leaders had spent 2 days in a retreat discussing issues pertaining to the way they lead their people. When you make local residents just beneficiaries, you end up working a lot harder to deliver what is expected, and they are rarely satisfied anyway. When, however, you include them in developmental projects, making them part of them, they are much happier with the results because they were part of the effort to begin with, and the results themselves are indeed much better. As leaders, we must therefore remind each other of our responsibilities and the policies of our country, as well as the responsibilities we have been tasked with by the President, which are in line with improving the social welfare of local residents. The local leaders were also reminded that the people must always remain their priority. All leaders must understand that their responsibilities revolve around local residents and that as leaders they were sent by the President of the Republic to serve the people. That is the first step. The next involves understanding what your responsibilities are and their boundaries. The third step is realizing that you are not alone and that you are part of a bigger team, with all of you working to transform the lives of local residents for the better. The minister also stressed that the local leaders must practice what they preach. People must understand that they themselves must implement what they ask others to do. You cannot be taking bribes and then ask others to fight corruption, engage in divisionism and then call for unity, or constantly bicker only to say that others must not participate in such things. All leaders should distance themselves from such things and instead focus their efforts on serving their communities. During the retreat, security organs present noted that even though the Eastern Province generally enjoys good security, incidents of theft, vandalism, drug trafficking and the sexual abuse of minors have persisted, and it was pointed out that they can be rooted out with the proper efforts and coordination from local leaders.
Roads constructed thanks to the collaboration of local residents is among the achievements RPF Inkotanyi party members in Bibare Cell Kimirongo sector have been celebrating. People living in other parts of Kigali have been noting that what was done in Bibare should be a lesson for areas that still struggle with bad roads.
The local residents of the cell say they are proud of this achievement, especially when you consider just how bad their roads used to be. There was a lot of dust here, and now we are very proud of what we have done. All we did, however, was follow the advice of our leaders to be willing to be self-reliant when it comes to all developmental initiatives and projects. This area was in terrible condition, with a lot of soil erosion every time it rained. We did not build this water drainage system, the government did, but we did come together and decide to put tarmac on the roads, which resulted in what you see now. People in neighborhoods with bad roads say they are willing to follow the example set by those who have taken the initiative to build their own roads, like the local residents of Bibare. Certainly the bad roads bother us, because when you use a properly upgraded road, your vehicle isn't damaged as much. We certainly want to come together and upgrade our roads, but we all don't have the same means and have failed to agree among ourselves on how to go about it. The RPF Inkotanyi Party members in Birare's cell on Saturday held their General Assembly, and the upgraded roads were among the achievements of the party at the local level that were noted. Because our party of the RPF Inkotanyi is the engine that drives the government, such initiatives and policies always wind up at the local level as well. We, the party members, are always working at the local level to improve social welfare, urging communities to turn to homegrown solutions, and that includes the upgrading of such roads, which has been happening a lot lately. For the roads in Bibare to be upgraded, every home had to contribute 700,000 Rwandan francs, and during the party's General Assembly in the cell, members were reminded that transparency is key for development.
Well, there you have it. On behalf of the entire news production team, thank you so much for your company. I'm Jane Mutoni. Have a nice weekend.